Have you ever stood in the middle of your own life, surrounded by the very things you once yearned for, and felt a chilling emptiness? You have the job, the relationship, the stability, yet a quiet, persistent hum of dissatisfaction echoes in the background. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? To have everything and yet feel nothing. To look at your reflection and see a stranger who is simply going through the motions, a ghost at the feast of their own existence. You're not in crisis. There's no great tragedy unfolding, and yet the vibrant colors of life seem to have faded to a dull, monotonous gray. Science has a term for it. It's called Anhedonia, the lack of interest, enjoyment, or pleasure from life's experiences. In short, you don't feel pleasure, even when nothing's technically wrong. If this feeling resonates with you, know that you are not alone, and what you are experiencing has a name. It's a condition of the modern spirit, a silent epidemic of the soul known as Anhedonia, the lack of interest, enjoyment, or pleasure from life's experiences. It is the subtle thief that robs you of joy, leaving you with the hollow shell of a life that, by all external measures, should be happy. Today we will talk about this pervasive sense of emotional numbness, this quiet hollowing out of our inner world, and how we can get through it. And if you stay with me until the end, I will share with you an ancient story that holds the key to transforming your own reality. The term anhedonia might sound clinical, like something you'd read in a dusty medical textbook, but its effects are deeply personal and profoundly human. It's the inability to feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, to taste the sweetness of a ripe fruit, to lose yourself in the melody of a beautiful song, or to feel the simple, profound comfort of a loved one's embrace. The activities that once brought you a sense of purpose and delight now feel like chores, obligations to be checked off a list. You may find yourself thinking, I should be enjoying this, whether it's a vacation, a celebration, or a quiet evening at home. That single word "should" is a heavy burden. It implies a failure, a defect in our ability to be happy. But what if it's not a personal failing? What if this widespread inability to enjoy life is a predictable consequence of the way we have been taught to live and what we have been taught to value? The ancient Stoic philosophers, those masters of the human psyche, understood this condition intimately, though they called it by different names. They saw it as a form of spiritual sickness, born from a fundamental misunderstanding of where happiness truly resides. They argued that we suffer not because of what happens to us, but because of our judgments about what happens to us. And in our modern world, our judgments have been hijacked. We have been conditioned to seek our contentment in the fleeting, the external, and the uncontrollable. We have built our houses on sand, and we wonder why they crumble. One of the primary architects of our modern discontent is the relentless pursuit of external validation. We have become a society of performers, curating our lives for an audience on social media, measuring our worth in likes, shares, and comments. We chase promotions not for the fulfillment of the work itself, but for the prestige of the title. We acquire possessions not for their utility, but for the status they confer. We have outsourced our self-esteem to the fickle and ever-changing opinions of others. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius saw this trap with stunning clarity nearly 2 millennia ago. He wrote in his private meditations, I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others. Think about the sheer absurdity of this. We grant more power to the fleeting judgment of a stranger scrolling through their phone than to our own intimate knowledge of ourselves. We allow our inner peace to be dictated by forces entirely outside of our control. This is the very definition of slavery, according to the Stoics. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the most influential Stoic teachers, stated it plainly. No man is free who is not master of himself. When our happiness depends on a like button, a positive comment, or a word of praise, we are not our own masters. We are puppets, and the strings are held by 1,000 different hands. This constant, desperate chase for approval is exhausting. It disconnects us from our authentic selves, from our own values and desires. We begin to live a life designed to impress others, rather than a life that is true to ourselves. And a life that is not authentic can never be truly joyful. The pleasure derived from external validation is like a drug. It's a temporary high that quickly fades, leaving us craving another, bigger hit. It's a hollow and unsatisfying pursuit that ultimately deepens the very emptiness it promises to fill. This leads us to another powerful engine of anhedonia, the hedonic treadmill. This is a psychological phenomenon that describes our remarkable ability to adapt to positive changes in our lives, ultimately returning to our baseline level of happiness. You get the promotion you've been working towards for years. For a week, maybe a month, you feel euphoric. But soon, the new salary, the new responsibilities, they become the new normal. The initial joy fades, and your eyes begin to wander to the next goal, the next rung on the ladder, convinced that that is where lasting happiness will be found. The Stoic philosopher Seneca spoke of this insatiable hunger for more. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. Our consumer-driven culture is a master at keeping us on this treadmill. We are bombarded with thousands of messages every single day telling us that we are incomplete, that our lives are lacking, and that the solution can be bought. The new car, the latest smartphone, the designer clothes. These are all marketed as keys to a happier, more fulfilling existence. But it is a profound deception. Each new acquisition provides a fleeting spark of pleasure, but it does nothing to kindle the enduring fire of inner contentment. In fact, it often does the opposite. The more we have, the more we have to lose, and the more we have to worry about. The bigger the house, the more there is to clean and maintain. The more sophisticated the technology, the more there is to go wrong. We become slaves to our possessions, our lives consumed by the effort of acquiring and maintaining them, leaving little room for genuine human experience. We are so busy chasing the horizon that we fail to notice the beauty of the landscape we are already in. We are promised a feast, but we are fed on empty calories that leave us perpetually hungry. Compounding this is the sheer, overwhelming noise of modern life. Our minds are under constant siege. From the moment we wake up and grab our phones to the moment we fall asleep to the blue glow of a screen, we are inundated with information, notifications, emails, and demands for our attention. We have lost the ability to be still, to be quiet, to simply be present with our own thoughts. The Stoics called the practice of mindfulness and self-awareness prosody, paying attention to oneself. They understood that a scattered mind is an unhappy mind. Seneca wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." When our attention is constantly fragmented, pulled in a dozen different directions at once, we cannot fully engage with anything. We are physically present, but our minds are elsewhere, worrying about the future, ruminating on the past, or lost in the digital ether. How can you savor a meal when you are scrolling through your phone? How can you truly connect with a friend when your mind is on your work email? How can you appreciate a sunset when you are busy trying to capture the perfect photo to post online? We are living in a state of perpetual distraction, and this distraction is a formidable barrier to joy. Joy is not found in the frantic multitasking of a scattered mind. It is found in the deep, focused engagement of a present mind. It is found in the richness of the here and now. By constantly allowing our attention to be hijacked by the trivial and the urgent, we are robbing ourselves of the opportunity to experience the profound and the important. We are trading the substance of life for its shadow. Perhaps the deepest root of anhedonia, however, is a crisis of meaning. For much of human history, our purpose was largely defined for us by our culture, our community, our religion, or simply the struggle for survival. In our modern, secular, and relatively affluent world, we are blessed with unprecedented freedom to choose our own path. But this freedom can be a double-edged sword. For many, it has created a vacuum of meaning, a sense that there is no grand narrative, no ultimate purpose to our existence. We can have all the pleasure and comfort in the world, but without a why, a reason to get out of bed in the morning that is larger than ourselves, life can feel profoundly empty. The Stoics proposed a radical solution to this crisis of meaning, to treat life itself as the ultimate craft. They called it the ars vivendi, the art of living. For them, purpose wasn't a destination to be found, but a skill to be practiced, moment by moment, day by day. The raw materials for this art are the events of our lives, both the pleasant and the painful. The tools are our reason, our judgment, and our will. The goal is to shape these raw materials into a life of moral beauty and inner tranquility, a masterpiece of character. This shifts the focus entirely. Instead of asking, what is the meaning of life? And the Stoic asks, how can I live this moment, this day with skill and excellence? This means applying the virtues, wisdom in our decisions, justice in our dealings with others, courage in the face of fear, and moderation in our desires. It is in the act of this skillful living, this constant striving to be a good craftsman of one's own soul, that a profound and unshakable sense of purpose is forged. When we lack this sense of purpose, we drift. We chase fleeting pleasures and distractions to numb the underlying feeling of aimlessness. But this is like trying to quench a thirst with salt water. The more we drink, the thirstier we become. True, enduring contentment is not a byproduct of pleasure or comfort. It is a byproduct of a life lived with purpose. It is the feeling of satisfaction that comes from using your strengths in the service of something you believe in, from contributing to the well-being of others, from striving to become the best version of yourself. So how do we escape this gray prison of Anhedonia? How do we learn to enjoy life again, even when nothing is wrong, and especially when things are? The Stoics offer not a quick fix, but a practical, lifelong path to reclaiming our capacity for joy. First, we must deliberately shift our focus from the external to the internal. This begins with practicing gratitude, but in a uniquely Stoic way. It's a practice known as negative visualization. Instead of just listing the things you are grateful for, take a moment each day to vividly imagine losing them. Imagine your life without your loved ones, without your health, without your home. This is not meant to be a morbid exercise, but a powerful psychological tool. By contemplating the loss of what we hold dear, we counteract the effect of the hedonic treadmill. We cease to take our blessings for granted. The things that have become part of the mundane background of our lives are suddenly brought into sharp, vibrant focus. Doing this regularly can transform your experience of daily life. The simple act of having coffee with your partner becomes a precious gift, not a routine. Your ability to walk in the park becomes a miracle, not a given. As Seneca said, the whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. Second, we must reclaim our attention. We must declare war on the trivial distractions that steal our lives from us. This means creating intentional space for stillness and reflection. It could be as simple as starting your day with 10 minutes of silence instead of your phone. It could mean taking a walk in nature without headphones, or practicing the art of single tasking, doing one thing at a time with your full and undivided attention. When you eat, just eat. When you listen, just listen. This is the practice of prososcia in action. It is about training your mind to be where your body is. This is where life is lived. Joy is not in the past or the future. It is only ever available in the present moment. By training our attention, we give ourselves the gift of presence, and in presence we find the richness and beauty that we have been missing. Third, we must redefine our purpose. We must stop asking, what can the world give me? And start asking, what can I give to the world? This doesn't mean you have to go out and save the world. It means finding meaning in your daily actions. It means approaching your work, whatever it may be, as a craft, an opportunity to contribute and to excel. It means treating the people in your life with kindness, patience, and justice. It means identifying your core values and striving to live in alignment with them. Purpose is not something you find. It is something you build day by day through your choices and your actions. A life of purpose, even one filled with challenges and difficulties, is infinitely more satisfying than a life of aimless pleasure. Fourth, and in a practice that may seem paradoxical, we must intentionally practice discomfort. The Stoics understood that our constant pursuit of comfort is a primary cause of our dissatisfaction. We have become so accustomed to ease and convenience that we have lost our resilience and, ironically, our ability to appreciate comfort itself. The philosopher Seneca advised his friends to periodically set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition that I feared? This is not self-punishment. It is a form of psychological training. By taking a cold shower, sleeping on the floor for a night, or fasting for a day, you are recalibrating your senses. You are inoculating yourself against the inevitable hardships of life, proving to yourself that you can endure more than you think. More importantly, you are resetting your baseline for pleasure. When you return to your normal life, the simple things you once took for granted, a warm meal, a soft bed, a hot shower, are no longer just mundane routines. They become sources of genuine, profound joy. You break the spell of the hedonic treadmill, not by adding more, but by temporarily taking away. Finally, we must embrace the Stoic concept of amor fatuum, a love of one's fate. This is perhaps the most challenging and the most liberating practice of all. It means not just accepting, but embracing everything that happens in our lives, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as necessary and even desirable. It is the understanding that reality is what it is, and our suffering comes not from reality itself, but from our futile struggle against it. When we fight with reality, we always lose. When we learn to love it, we can never be defeated. This doesn't mean being passive. We should still strive to improve our circumstances and the world around us. But it means accepting the outcome of our efforts with grace and equanimity. It means seeing every obstacle as an opportunity to practice a virtue, patience, courage, resilience, wisdom. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. When you can look at any situation and say, "This is what I needed," you have unlocked a level of inner freedom and joy that is unshakable. Now, before you go, let me tell you a story that perfectly captures how our perspective can transform the very nature of our lives. A wise woman was journeying through a small village when she came upon a large construction site. The sun was high and hot, and the air was thick with dust and the rhythmic clang of hammers against stone. She approached the first worker she saw, a man whose face was etched with fatigue and frustration. He swung his heavy mallet with a grimace, his movements mechanical and joyless. "Good sir," the wise woman asked, "what is it that you are doing?" The man scowled, barely pausing in his labor. "Can you not see?" he grunted, wiping a sweaty brow with the back of a calloused hand. "I am breaking rocks. It is thankless, back-breaking work. The sun beats down on me, my muscles ache, and for this I earn just enough to survive another day of the same misery. I am a prisoner to this stone." The wise woman nodded and moved on. A little further along, she saw another man performing the exact same task. He too was sweating under the hot sun, his mallet rising and falling with the same effort. Yet there was a light in his eyes, a focus and a purpose in his posture. The wise woman approached him and asked the same question. "Good sir, what is it that you are doing?" The man stopped his work and leaned on his mallet, a genuine smile spreading across his dusty face. He looked past the woman towards the rising walls of the structure in the distance. "I," he said, his voice filled with a quiet reverence, "am building a great cathedral. Each stone I shape is part of a grand design. This will be a place of sanctuary and peace for 1,000 years. My children and their children's children will come here to find solace and inspiration. With every swing of this hammer, I am helping to create something beautiful and eternal." Ultimately, the two men in the story teach us the most profound Stoic truth. The world we inhabit is not the world of objective facts, but the world of our own interpretation. Both men were breaking rocks, but one lived in a prison while the other lived in a sacred purpose. Anhedonia thrives in the first man's world, a world defined by external circumstance and drudgery. Joy, resilience, and meaning are born in the second man's world, a world defined by internal perspective and purpose. The power to escape the gray emptiness does not lie in changing your job, your possessions, or your status. It lies in changing the story you tell yourself about what you are doing. You have the choice in every moment to see yourself as merely breaking rocks or as building a cathedral. Choose wisely.